Welcome to the Civil War Guru Show. My name is Steve Munson, and I am the Civil War Guru. And today I have in here for evaluation is a wonderful piece of Confederate history, Confederate naval history. This is a Thomas Griswold and Company, New Orleans, Louisiana, manufactured naval cutlass. That's a rare manufacturer. They were in business from August of 61 until the Union took over New Orleans in 62. So they made for approximately a year. They made some of the finest swords of the Confederacy. And these naval cutlasses are highly desirable. They marked them two different ways, with a full address, and then they also marked them with initials. This particular model has the full address on it. This particular model is one of the highly desirable naval cutlasses that's in the collecting arena. We're going to get up close on it. It's got a lot of characteristics of the U.S. model 1846, which this sword was originally designed in 1846 for the Navy. But in the Civil War, at the beginning of the war, they copied these for the ships, and they copied that model 1846. So we'll show you the differences between the U.S. model and this particular Confederate model. So I'm doing this by myself this morning, so we're going to move around a lot, and I hope I don't get you too dizzy, but we're going to get up and get some close looks at it. This particular sword just come out of the, actually a little farm sale down in Danville, Kentucky, and it had silver paint on the blade and gold paint on the guard. It took the silver paint off, and you can see traces of it once we get up around the name. And that was done when they were captured, or they were put on display in a UCV post or a GAR post. All right, we repositioned the camera and got a better, position on the sword itself. And you can see the cast handle. And I'm gonna move this around just a hair, and then I'm gonna try to bring this cast guard up here without making y'all too dizzy. Move around this a little bit more. Alright, now y'all look at it for a second. Let me get a little pointer here. Alright, I'm going to stick this ink pen in the picture here. And on U.S. models, you'll see a rivet here, comes through the handle, here, and here. And then the shaft is pinged on the end here. On the Thomas Griswold model here, the shaft just goes all the way through the handle and pinged on the end. You'll see no rivets here. That's the first indication that it's a Southern made sword. And you can see the fish scales on it. These are the same as the 1846 or 40 model. I mean, I've heard all kinds of numbers thrown on it, but that's the same as the US model. They use the fish scales. And on Griswold, they also use the eagle, and it's a little cruder than a normal one, but it is an eagle. So that's the big difference on the handle between the Confederate Thomas Griswold and the U.S. Cutlass of the same design. Now I'm going to try to position around and get this name on it for you, so bear with me. Alright, I got it up on the stamp, and it says Thomas Griswold and Company, New Orleans. And you can see the patina deep inside of it. And I'm going to back it out a little bit, see if it'll focus up a little bit better. Let the camera kind of catch up with it. And then I'm going to move this camera around and see if we can get a little bit better angle, so get a little bit better detail of the stamp. So bear with me a second. Alright, you can kind of see the Thomas Griswold a little bit better there. and you can see the New Orleans underneath of it. But I'm gonna get the other side also, the other, a little better angle, the other side of the Griswold Company. So that way you got a good reference when you're looking at these things. These things are faked to hell and back. I've seen them with all kinds of marks. They're faked with the Thomas Griswold. Then on the other side it'll be 1861. Griswold never marked any dates on them. So if you see one with a date on it, run as fast as you can. All right, let me stop the camera and we'll move to the other side. All right, this is going to be our last effort of getting a name where you can get a good look at it. And as you know, when you're watching YouTube, you can stop it on that and take a real strong look at it. But that's how they're marked. They're real tiny lettering, and you know, that's the full address. That's one of the two ways they mark them. And then I'm going to try to, like I say, I'm not a cameraman. We're going to back this off a little bit. And kind of just go down the blade just a hair. Alright, and as you can see the arch in the center. And it flares at the guard, and then it goes in, gets narrow, then it flares back out in the middle, then it goes to the taper at the point. These are double-edged. And you see the crude casting and some of the grind marks on it, which is what you'll see. These things aren't perfect. It's amazing. Their officer swords and enlistment swords are just absolutely breathtaking. But they must have made these things real quick, real fast, and you know, so the workmanship's really not shown in them. But that's what you're going to see. And let's turn over the sword, and I'll get it upside down to where you can see the guard. The guard's a cast guard, and it's folded over, and you can see a lip on it. And then I'm gonna, while I got the camera in this position, you can see that queen on it has a hole in it. That's not normal. That queen in there, that little ball in there, it's applied on the guard. You can see a seam on it. And you know, evidently they had a string or a lanyard or something tied through that hole there. But they didn't. I've never seen one come out of factory like that. So that's a personal add-on or whatever for the individual that actually own these things. And these things did come out with scabbards, which looks the same as the U.S. model. So let me jockey this thing around. I hope you don't get too dizzy while I get it lined up so we can see the underside. There we go. And you can see the casting flaws in it, and you can see the lip that runs around it. And I'm kind of moving around, and I'm going to try to back it off. You can see it's offset. It's wider on one side. Let's back it out a little bit where you can see it. And that's what the underside looks at. And that's real indicative of Thomas Griswold's, that edge, that little leading edge there, at a little over 1/8 of an inch. And it's into the guard, and the casting goes just up like that. I'll push it forward a little bit. And let me move the guard around just a little bit, and I'm going to move it up close where you can see that quillion where all that comes together up front. That's about what I'm going to stop at right there. But you can see the texture to the guard itself. Well manufactured. Let me back her out here. Now I'm going to get it on the capstan side of it, so we can see how it's pinged on. So I'm going to turn it off for a second. Alright, there's a good look as I can get at the top of the cutlass there. I'll move it around just a hair. Again, I'm not the cameraman, but you can see, and I'm going to get the ink pen here, how this capstan, let me get, this is casting up to here, and then you see the iron coming through the end there. Then it's pinged over to hold it all together. So you got you know, the guards and individually pieced You know, this is an individual piece here, the guard. This is an individual piece here. And again, if I can reach up here, this is applied on there, which I moved the camera around. I want to get, last two things I want to get is a picture of that quay in there where it's applied, and also of the Eagle. We can see it's a little cruder than the models that the U.S. made. So bear with him. I'll turn the camera. All right. See if I can raise up just a hair. There you go. As you see a line going across there, the quillion's applied on there. And a lot of them, even in Allball's first brook, everybody thought, well, they made them without that too. But that one's just broke off. That's in the One Axis first photographic supplement of them. They were applied on there. And like I say, the hose through the quillion, there's a option that somebody did that owned it. But that's what it should look like. On a Thomas Griswold. Now, there's other cutlasses that were made in Boyle and Gamble, made some up here in Richmond. And there, I mean, there was, tons of people who made them. There was several, I say tons. There was, half a dozen real strong makers. So let me back this out. Wrong way. Get you all dizzy on me. And I'm going to turn it off, and I'm going to lay it down where I get a close-up of the Eagle. There you go. All right, there's your close-up of your Eagle. And as you can see, it's a little cruder than the U.S. models. And also, too, you can see that brass protruding up to where the sword's pinged. You got the little brass mount up there. It's actually cast into the guard. And then you can see the crudeness of the, now that we got a little close-up, crudeness of the fish scales. See if I can, and again, no rivets. But these are really, of course, I was in the Navy. I'm, no old salt, and I love the stuff from the Civil War that was Navy, because Navy was small back then. And the Confederate Navy, just like Thomas Griswold here, actually where they produce is on the corner of Royal and Canal Street down in New Orleans, which you can actually walk there and stand on the corner where these things were made. And I think the partners were, of course, Thomas Griswold, a guy named Giddon, Gindon, and another guy named Abbott. There was three of them that made these things. But these guys were in the jewelry business. They could cast. They could do just multiple things. And they made some of the finest swords in the Western Theater. And this is a real addition to anybody's collection because it has a full address. That's what everybody wants. There's no guessing. Is it a Griswold or not? Fully marked. Highly desirable. These things were bringing $10,000, $12,000 10 years ago. And the market collapsed. And they'll bring, $5,000 to $6,000 if they're really super condition. And this one's, not too bad. It's, it'd bring, I guess, between the $4,500, $5,500 range, I like to think. But it's just a good old honest one, and that's what you want. You want one that hadn't been messed with, worked on, tweaked. This is right out of a little farm sale in Danville, Kentucky, about a week ago. And actually, the purchaser told me that he paid $10 for it, and it had that silver and gold paint on it. And I think there's still a lot of gold paint still on that the guard, because it's a little more shiny than it should be. But I'm not going to strip it. But there's lovely patina on. It took the silver paint off the blade. Patina underneath, that's wonderful. And you can see the crude grind marks, etc., etc. But I just wanted to get this up, and add another little piece of history to our library. So if you're searching for a Thomas Griswold, you can go to the old Guru and hit this one and get a good close-up look at it. And that's what we try to do. We're here to share knowledge with everybody. And if you got any collections that you need identified, we do it, and we do it free. It's all verbal and with pictures, and we actually come. And if you need assistance selling something, we know everybody in the business, everybody. We can certainly facilitate that. And passionately myself, I still know muscle car guy, big old 50s Corvette guy. and also I'm an old pilot. I still mess with the World War II planes, the Stearmans and the T6s and the Wacos, etc., etc. So if you get anything or just want to chat, just drop the old guru a line. And, we're always out here trying to help you, and hope you appreciate what we try to do for you. On these days, I miss my grandson, who's the best cameraman I ever had. But he's going to the university, and they grow up and have to go away. So you got to take that as part of life. But my son still does all the editing and the magic to it. So from Civil War Guru, have a great day.